Hello everybody and welcome to the CCA. I am DRF joined by Elixir, and we are actually going to be jumping right into this one as these teams have been very eagerly waiting for our cue to let them go and play their bronze medal match here in Division 5. Elixir, welcome to the broadcast here as we dive right into Game 1 Splatoon on Mana Maria.
Yeah, and I can immediately notice that both teams have a Splash Neo, and one goes down on the side of Goomies, and you know, it seems like Redbeak's already laying down the pressure, even just 30 seconds within the game.
Oh, certainly, as they're just on fire here, getting a couple of quick picks, forcing this last jump out, and they will take full control of these zones and start making a major dent into this scoreboard. As we now see them making their way also into the street now. That's going to make it very difficult for Goomies to even just try to get themselves back into this game in the opening minute.
Yeah, but we see that the rain's been popped, so if the Goomies can kind of work around with that rain to try to, you know, figure out where everyone is, I mean, they can probably get a pick. But Goomies is currently just kind of staggering right now.
They are, and they're really just running out of time very quickly here. It's going to come down to this triple ink strike to make an impact, but it's not even going to put a dent in these zones as they are now at 20 points remaining. Redbeak Splatoon, they're looking to knock this one out early on, and with 10 points remaining, they will get a bit of a neutral here, but is it going to be enough? Yes, it is to get the neutral plus 2 picks. This should be the zone flipping in Goomies' favor right in the nick of time. So now Goomies actually buys themselves an opportunity at their first push of the game and surviving a potential knockout.
Yeah, that was very clutch, you know, just strikes and kind of just trying to burst paint the zone, because I mean, it almost looked like when that strike from the Redbeak was going to come in, it could have painted over the zone, but it was just luckily enough.
Certainly is. Now it will be Redbeak that does come back in here. They are going to get the neutral for now, trying to get this cap back in their favor, prevent Goomies from getting any more points on the board. And, you know, it's certainly something that they want to try to avoid. They saw what sort of damage they were able to do on the offensive. Don't give Goomies that opportunity here, but they are struggling to get control of both of these zones. I mean, that's just Manta Maria for you, though. It can be very difficult to flip these zones. It takes quite some time, and that's, you know, frankly why you really need to make sure this game gets out of reach before you even hit that 5-minute timer.
Which, I mean, it is kind of a hard reach for Goomies right now, because I mean, they have to constantly be worrying about that, you know, 9 seconds plus penalty, which, you know, I feel like that could be like affecting maybe some of the mental, because that's just a hard one to come back from.
Certainly, as they are doing a fantastic job here of just leveraging their specials, trying to at least neutralize the zones. They will get the zone flip, actually pushing back the members of Redbeak with those tri-strikes, and now it's going to be Bubble that finds their way into the opposition bunker, but going to have to back off for now. It looks like this will once again be a bit of a neutral game. Redbeak with the 2 picks should also result in the zone flip, which it will, and once again they will start to work on this massive penalty. It's going to take quite a bit for them to break out of it entirely. At this point, it seems like they're more so in the type of game where they just need to hold on and continue to make it as difficult as possible for Goomies to chip away at that penalty and start getting more points on the board.
Yeah, but Redbeak is doing a very good job kind of staying together, whereas Goomies are kind of trying to go for different off angles at the same time, kind of splitting up their team a little bit.
Yeah, and you know, I think that's a great point there, because we do kind of see them just getting picked off in somewhat isolated locations, as now Redbeak will actually be looking to get out of the penalty and trying to knock this one out with 30 seconds to play. 3 members up on the side of Goomies. They're going to have one opportunity here. Bubble going to try to make a move for that right zone, will be successful in doing so, and Goomies will actually get the flip here. But they do not maintain the numbers. However, of course, as I say that, they do actually get a nice 3 down So this is a very strong potential right now for this to go into overtime. They just need to hold on to these zones as best as they can, and they will hold on for now. But Redbeak has a couple specials online, and they are going to try to fight back and end this before it can get started.
Yeah, no, Goomies has to play a little bit more aggressive than how they've been playing this match in order to prevent Redbeak from actually able to paint the zone. Because, I mean, as we've seen through this match, Redbeak knows how to do enough burst paint to kind of cap the zones if you let them be.
Oh my goodness, 35 points remaining though for Goomies. They are trying to force this one as they continue to get 2 down after 2 down here in game number 1. Now below 20. This is going to be Redbeak Splatoon's last stand on the zones. They're trying to force the neutral, but they're not going to get it. And Goomies will come from behind in game number 1.
That was awesome to see. I mean, Goomies had quite the mountain to summit, but they were able to just come up on top and conquer that mountain.
They certainly did. That was just phenomenal to see there. That was crazy. Redbeak was really in control of that game. In regulation, probably 4 out of 5 of those minutes. And then as soon as we hit the last about 30 seconds, and in all of overtime, Goomies flipped a switch there and just initiated this kind of back and forth where they just were constantly at the advantage. They knew that they were able to kind of take advantage of those positions. Redbeak started to get a little bit antsy there, and they just continued to find double after double, and Redbeak just never had all of their members up and standing, trying to take over those zones in overtime. I mean, Goomies did a fantastic job just chipping away at that one.
Yeah, definitely. And I think now that we've kind of got a little bit of a breather in between these 2 matches, I think we should properly introduce these two teams. I'm a little tired right now, DRF.
You're absolutely right, though, because we did kind of jump right into that one. Teams were a bit eager there, but for those of you that are just joining us right now, we have Redbeak Splatoon out of Illinois State University taking on Goomies from Virginia Commonwealth University in our Division 5 bronze medal match.
Yeah, and we've seen already that from the group stage, Redbeak went second in other groups, going 3-2, whereas Goomies are also I believe also in their second place, and they went I think 2-3 or 3-2, and they lost to LCBD, whereas Redbeak lost against Coastal Squid Search.
Yes, correct. Their 5 was a pretty tightly contested division. I mean, Goomies in their group had to win a complex 3-way tiebreaker in order to even get into the playoffs. So they actually ended up making it by essentially 1 point, and then having to go to one of our last tiebreakers possible to win over OU Black to get in this position. So congrats to Goomies, for even getting into this spot. Now winning that first game as well. Gonna try to make it a second game as we dive into game number 2 here. Tower control on Hammerhead Bridge.
Yeah, and I can immediately see that Rare from Goomies has swapped from an X-Flosher to a heavy Splatling with 3 mains of run speed.
Oh man, yeah, I feel like that's we tend to see that a decent amount with heavy Splatlings. Just try to increase that mobility, especially when you're gonna, something in tower control, being able to just strafe around and keep yourself alive as the backline. That's probably gonna end up riding this tower for a large chunk of time, as this crab's gonna somehow live through the Booyah Bomb. That was actually kind of impressive there.
Yeah, definitely. And we see Goomies, not Goomies, but Redbeak playing that very aggressively against tower, kind of feeding into that a little bit.
And these teams have essentially kind of swapped positions here from where we were in game number 1, where Redbeak was in the driver's seat to start out the match, but now this is just domination from the Goomies as they get a beautiful 3 down there. It's just the blaster left standing, and that's going to be a delayed wipe there. So with 9 points left, this is a last-ditch effort to just get someone on the tower, and it's not going to be enough as Goomies quickly knocking out here in game number 2.
Yeah, that was 100-0 push, which is very hard to do, and competitive sometimes. So that's that's props to Goomies for it being able to pull that off.
I mean, that was thoroughly impressive. I do feel like Hammerhead Tower is a very snowbally map mode. Things can just get very, pushes can go very quick. It really can go from 0 to 100 like we just saw. Sometimes we get a little bit of the back and forth, but as soon as you break through that final checkpoint, most of the time it's GG. Like, it's so difficult to even get the stop, first of all, and then second of all, somehow work your way back, taking that tower coast to coast. I think as soon as we saw that 3 down situation, we were prepared for that game to be over. It's so tough to just be able to get yourselves back in that position there, and Goomies executed perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Redbeak definitely could maybe stop them a little bit better. I think they could have painted up their base a little bit and try to get specials. But I mean, Goomies were spread apart enough that even if you displace one person, I mean, another person could easily start riding tower.
Yeah, for sure. But now we are actually going to a map mode that we have not yet seen this season. It is Rainmaker on Sturgeon Shipyard. So a couple of curveballs that we continue to just kind of throw here. Rainmaker Sturgeon, neither team has played this in the CCA yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how they ultimately end up approaching this one, because I feel like there's so many different strategies that you could take on Rainmaker Sturgeon.
Yeah, but I expect to see that both teams try to take that left block and go for left checkpoint. Although it'd be interesting to see if anyone can pull off, the center route on bridge to the center checkpoint. But that requires a pretty strong advantage state.
Well, let's find out what these teams try to pull off here as we dive right into game number 3. Elixir, let's take a look at these compositions. Anything really notable here?
I see Tetris on Redbeak, and I see that Explo come back along with double slosher.
Are we not going to point out?
Wait, that's 3 sloshers.
But yes, with the triple slosher Nova from Goomies.
Yeah. Hey, DRF, do you know anything how the triple sloshers can work together?
Funny enough, Triggerfish's Own Supremacy, this is actually a comp that we may or may not, obviously not, like this exactly, but certainly a comp that I'm familiar with to some extent here. The triple slosher, definitely very interesting, as it's going to work so well along the many, many ledges that we see here in Sturgeon Shipyard. And as we can see so far, Goomies taking a great early position here and able to force the members of Redbeak off of those key positions such as the snipe and the left side ledge where that first checkpoint is. And that looks like where they're going to try to take this Rainmaker before ultimately getting shut down here. But I really, really like this idea. It's very ambitious, and so far it's paying off.
Yeah, it looked like Goomies was trying to not go for a left block though, and kind of just go into that kind of choke point. But we kind of see that Redbeak's kind of all over the place right now, kind of not really knowing where they're going to try to position, try to get their try to find their footing against Goomies.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be a struggle for them at this moment. They just haven't quite picked up the momentum that they lost in game number 1 yet. So they're still trying to find those answers right now as they're getting staggered sort of left and right here. But that's going to actually be a player of Redbeak coming up with a nice double there. And this is going to just continue to keep this Rainmaker in a neutral position. However, Goomies with the map control for now, as this triple ink trick I think is going to be a little bit of a miss, but it's the ballpoint that continues to come up with a couple of big picks here and just holding off the entirety of this Goomies team on their own, and another double there.
Yeah, ballpoint it's kind of keeping the Redbeak Splatoon very anchored right now, and making sure that Goomies can't really get past the kind of the left block in order to make a push. And we see Redbeak just steal away this checkpoint as Goomies are left wondering, how did that happen?
That was some fancy footwork there from the Tetras to be able to get that one done. So they barely escaped death as they managed to squid roll off of the ledge. And it looks like one of the players from Goomies will take that Rainmaker off the edge there. So that's gonna reset this Rainmaker. But Redbeak finally back in control of this map, and they're gonna look to try to continue this push beyond the checkpoint and able to get 2 down there, but it will be that Nova tri-slosher combo that's gonna slow things down for now. Popping that tactical or trying to give their team a little bit of a buff, but it's placed in a bit of an awkward position there. So for now, they're just gonna have to kind of hang back a little bit, try to hold off these members of Redbeak and see what they try to do.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Goomies right now, I think it'd be best to kind of try to get the Rainmaker out of there, but try to actually not grab it and try to have it reset, because you're kind of having the Rainmaker in these awkward positions since you have all these different blocks that kind of like funnel everyone into a single spot to kind of get wiped out.
Yeah, so, it's... and, I mean, this Rainmaker just continues to stall. I think for Redbeak, they're honestly content with this one. If they could just keep this Rainmaker, right in mid while they kind of hold this position, they should be fine. But, of course, as I say that, they are going to lose 2 of their members. But Aiden continues to be the anchor for Redbeak Splatoon, coming up with another big pick once again. Gonna pop this Inkjet in a little bit of desperation, but it's gonna be enough to help them just push back the members of Goomies, and they're not gonna contest that recall. Finally, it's the tri-slosher that's gonna put an end to Aiden's reign here in mid, and Goomies will, for the first time in probably about 3.5 minutes here, will pick up this Rainmaker.
Yeah, and once again, like as I've kind of commented before this match started, I expected both teams kind of push left side, and it's exactly what happened. They both pushed left side, and now Goomies just needs to just take that Rainmaker and move it like 1 foot, and they and me got lead, and RNG just trying squid rolling some of the damage so they get a little bit more points, and now they've kind of put Redbeak Splatoon in a kind of a pickle.
Oh, and that's gonna be a nice killer whale there from behind from the Nova to shut down this Rainmaker, and Goomies once again coming from behind to win a game.
Yeah, it really it seems to be kind of interesting to see that like Redbeak has like these interesting pushes that are able to give them such a pretty good point lead, but Goomies somehow ends up finding a way to coordinate together and be like, okay, this is how we're going to push, and we will execute it, and they do it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, and on top of that, very interesting comp there. I loved the triple slosher Nova. Like I said, it was ambitious. It was working out for them early, but Redbeak, I guess, started to just sort of figure it out. Aiden was just a major, game changer for Redbeak in that game 3 there, just constantly being able to give their team the jump-ins, getting crucial picks, holding back Goomies, but ultimately it just wasn't strong enough for to sustain itself for 5 minutes. as Goomies finally managed to break through there at the last second. And now Redbeak once again trying to pick up the pieces, looking for answers, because right now they don't really have any.
Yeah, I mean, I think Redbeak kind of needs to kind of look upon like how they got to their position because I mean they were the I believe a pretty strong they had a much stronger like points in terms of the group stage and I mean I think they've probably fought a little bit harder for some of those points than Gumi. So I mean maybe they can kind of reflect on some of those victories as I think we've seen Museum Clamlet before on one of the map lists.
Correct. Museum Clams is coming back, I believe, from week 2. This was game 1 of week 2, so both of these teams were able to play this one. I don't have enough time here to pull up what the results for each of these teams were, but anyways, a 1-game sample size is not too much to go off of. But taking a look at these compositions that Nova will be coming out once again. For Goomies, Rare switching back to that heavy splatling, but Aiden's going to go ahead and match them on that with a heavy splatling of their own.
Yeah, and we also see that Redbeak is, I think, probably playing a little bit more of an aggressive gameplay with a double splash comp. It's not double crab, but it's a double splash, and splash can still be pretty dominant. But we just see Goomies here just painting up mid and making sure that they don't push up too far forward, as we see the back line push a little bit too far forward and get punished for it.
Well, with 3 down on the side of Goomies, Redbeak in a familiar position once again with a dominant opening, and now just trying to piece together a push here. It's much more difficult on Clamlet's Museum though, just because it takes so much to be able to just get to that basket. You need multiple picks consecutively to try to open things up unless you can get someone to slip right through. But we are seeing that out of Redbeak right now. This triple ink strike gonna seem to be a little more defensive here as someone's gonna manage to slip through actually, but this is gonna be a one and done push for Redbeak. So they do get first crack at the scoreboard, but ultimately a one and done push does leave something to be desired, but at the same time, Museum Clamlets, you can't really fault them for it.
Yeah, but with that, I mean, Goomies will end up having a pity clam that they can kind of use to their advantage, but we can see that Redbeak has 3 power clams online, which is very ambitious and trying to juggle these 3 clams while you essentially have a permanent point sensor on you, which I don't think that's really quite the play, but it's kind of hard to ignore the clams because it's objective.
Yeah, and it looks like they are going to pay for it here, as that will be a delayed wipe. All 3 balls are going to be lost for now. Only 1 will be recovered, as it looks like Goomies are ready to make a move here. They're going to get some jump-ins, but no, everybody's going to get shut down with the exception of Kale. And they're going to actually try to stick around to try to get their team back in, so they're going to just try to keep this push going. They do get the power clam plus a couple of picks. RNG trying to lead the way here. So Goomies, when it seemed like all was lost on this push, they're still going strong and trying to get their first score of the game.
Yeah, but it's very hard to kind of break that defensive block that Redbeak is kind of have right now. But we can see that, they have the whales coming in, and it allows for Goomies to kind of slip in and score 2 power clams in, which is much better of a push than what Redbeak had for their initial push.
Yes, 2 and done will beat the 1 and done here, but with a minute 45 to play, it's not going to take much for Redbeak to get back into this game. A crab tank will certainly help. A double will help on top of that, but it's going to be RNG that kind of leads the way here, but no, it's going to be an attempted push by Redbeak that will fall just a little bit flat here. And now they are going to have to try to fight their way to this basket just head on. It's going to have to be the Splash that needs to find an opening here. Yes, they will get it, but they need one more clam on top of it, and it looks like Aiden has that clam. They will get it in and have to back off. They're going to get shut down instead, actually. So, actually, my apologies. They needed 4 clams to be able to get the lead here, and they are not going to get that. So now they will be just a little bit behind in this last minute, but one power clam will get them the lead, so Goomies have to tread carefully.
Yeah, but they need to figure out how to. They need to start finding these clams now, because I mean, they barely have enough clam economy to really keep a good push in order to get the lead. Because you still need a power, and you need 2 clams within like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but they do have those 3 specials online that can try to help, as the crab tank is going to help the machine get that pick there. But the rush, it's RNG once again, causing some havoc, trying to just slow down the members of Redbeak.
Yeah, but Redbeak now has exactly 1 power clam, so they get the overtime clause for Clam Blitz. But Clam Blitz is very unforgiving when it comes to overtime, as Redbeak kind of needs to make kind of a reckless run and gun at the basket, as we can see, like Redbeak kind of stumbling on this brick right here, just trying to flank from behind.
Yeah, that's just so unfortunate. The Splash missed the first jump, and I think if they had nailed it the first time, they could have gotten the jump in and won the game, but they ended up just having to use a lot of that clock there. The players ended up having to try to push in themselves with the power clam in hand, got shut down, and it just was not enough time for them to set up the jump or get that power clam to the basket. So Goomies will continue their streak here, winning 4 in a row, and now sit at match point.
Yeah, Redbeak, I think they seem to have a very dominant start, but they don't seem to know how to kind of keep that dominant start like going, except that, you know, they had it very strongly for the initial Fanta zones, and we're moving on to another zones now, so we could maybe see Redbeak, you know, have their strong initial push and then kind of keep it going as you can kind of stall out Flounder not a lot easier than you can on Manta Maria, as you kind of just need to watch that ramp area.
Certainly, but I mean, I do kind of anticipate Goomies to come back out with that triple slosher combo. I think that actually will, you know, do them some good here. Flounder Heights, a lot of ledges going on that you can just slosh over. So I do anticipate at least 2 of them coming back. The Explo I know can have a little bit of a hard time here. It might not be a first choice of backline. So I could totally see Rares sticking with the heavy in that case. But we'll have to take a look at these compositions. Right now, though, I'm thinking that Goomies might have the slight favor.
Yeah, but you know, I still think Redbeak has something as going even more aggressive than they did last game, and we do see the triple with Slosher plus Nova comp you were talking about their DRF.
Yes, they do come back with it, and like I said, I love this choice. Explo can have a little bit of a tricky time, but as long as they're able to maintain their position, I think they'll be okay, because I mean, you can just reach to that other zone without exposing yourself too much with that Explo. So I do think it works maybe just a little bit more aggressively, which, you know, that's how Goomies have kind of been playing so far. But of course, they're being met with Redbeak's aggressive response here, as you had pointed out, Alexa. So that might end up being a little bit tricky to navigate.
Yeah, and we see that Redbeak has a crab that online that they can pop at any time. And honestly, I kind of expect to see them trying to stall out Goomies now, because if you pop a crab right there, you can kind of just watch the apartments area and the ramp at the same time.
lane is going to end up taking down that Splash player though. So now it's a bit of a, neutral state of the game here. Goomies, with that triple Ink Strike though, will come up with an answer and take control of this game, but it's gonna end up being just an absolute bloodbath on both sides. This machine trying to just hold on for dear life, but will be forced to jump back. So now, Goomies back in control here, and we know that once Goomies get in control, things can spiral very quickly. So Redbeak's gonna have to play their cards very carefully. They have 4 specials online. They're gonna have to use them very carefully here, as they're just gonna make a big splash here in their own zone, able to neutralize and get control, but they don't have control of the other zone. However, they will get 2 picks, make that a 3rd, and now Redbeak should get back control here. So a great usage of those specials, some fantastic coordination, maybe just could have been slightly better timed, but they got the job done nonetheless.
Yeah, but I still feel like popping 4 specials, you lose a lot of resources if you do that, and especially since 2 go down the side of Redbeak, and Gumi is now able to make another strong push and recap to the zones.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. It was a lot of resources that just went into flipping the zones back in your favor and trying to tack on that penalty that Goomies is quickly working their way through. However, the stalled zone will put a stop to their current push. And now I think with some slightly more staggered specials, Redbeak is going to be able to make a much bigger impact here. Able to get control of the zone, and now players are going to continue to kind of pull up their specials here. That Nautilus almost to theirs, able to have it now, but you can't really use a special if you go down, as we see a delayed wipe once again on the side of Redbeak.
Yeah, and Machine kind of has to, I was going to say they have to escape, but they couldn't even escape the wrath of Goomies, as, Goomies was just on top of, Redbeak. And I think Goomies is kind of aware of, Redbeak kind of coming in one at a time, and I think they're trying to punish this right now.
Yeah, they certainly are. And with 2 down, this will most likely be another zone flip. But they need to start pushing up on that zone. Finally able to do so, just trying to tread maybe a little bit more carefully. But I think at this time, you just need to start pushing up, start being a bit more aggressive, because Goomies has been so good about keeping one player alive to build up that special, get some jump in. You need to start punishing that, especially as you have the number advantage. And they're just not able to capitalize on that now, as Goomies, once again, they get 1 pick and they're making the move.
Yeah, and it definitely, we see Redbeak kind of playing their special game, but Goomies is able to kind of, be very fast on the uptake. Whenever one goes down, they immediately hard aggress, which is an excellent thing to see.
Certainly, if you are a Goomies fan, not so much if you are a fan of Illinois State here, as now this will be the last stand for Redbeak Splatoon. 30 seconds to play. They do get 2 down here, but there is 1 player that they think might be in their street. It's actually in their zone now, so they're going to go try to contest that Tri-Slosher. And with 2 players down, this is going to be a very difficult task for Redbeak to keep this set alive, as they're going to lose another couple of players here. 7 seconds to play. Nobody's able to go and contest that second zone. Goomies will be your bronze medalists in Division 5.
Yeah, I feel like the aggression definitely was very good, as, you can kind of move up on Goomies and kind of close the distance, because, pretty much all the weapons, except for Tri-Slosher, has kind of a slower kill time, but Redbeak was just slightly too slow to move up on the advantage and try to, camp Goomies from coming into zone.
Yeah, they did a great job of, like we point out, just every time they got a kill, they were immediately moving in and starting to just fluster the entire Redbeak team. They just had him constantly taking steps back. And on the flip side, Redbeak played a much more cautious game, but I think it ultimately ended up costing them, even with that more aggressive comp. they were still a little bit too cautious at times and just were not able to capitalize on Goomies' ability to just keep one player alive. And that's all it took every single time, was one player sticks around, builds up a special, uses it, gets the rest of the team in, and from there Redbeak just was not able to have those sustained holds of the objective. Game 1 was probably the first and only time that we got that out of Redbeak, and I think once they lost that in overtime, they lost every bit of momentum that was going their way. Goomies just were able to capitalize on that so well and found some momentum for themselves. Just rode that momentum all the way through, clean 5 games here. But Redbeak put up a fantastic fight nonetheless, and definitely deserve their praise for being our 4th place finisher in Division 5. Certainly not an easy task to get into that position in the first place.
Yeah, and it seems like these two teams are kind of wanting to play all 9. I mean, I think that's pretty acceptable because, I mean, in CCA tradition, kind of like to see, these two teams kind of like duke it out, even in like a scrims-like fashion, because that's kind of how we kind of grow the collegiate scene, I feel like.
Yeah, it honestly is. So it looks like we will go ahead and have a play all 9 here. So we'll keep the broadcast rolling for you all just to get some more collegiate Splatoon content out there. So Tower Control Inkblot will be the first of these 4 friendly matches. I think with this one, if these teams continue to play this at least a semi-serious level, I do feel like that Redbeak might have a better opportunity here. Goomies this entire season has actually been pretty bad at tower control. They have, I believe, a 1-5 record in tower control coming into this set. Obviously, they won the tower control game earlier, so make that 2-5. And also pending, I'm not sure if the semifinal stats were inputted quite yet. So at the very least, 1-5 in the regular season. So it's they have to capitalize here.
Yeah, but again, the 100-0 push from Goomies, I think, definitely did. I think show that Goomies did do a little of their homework of just learning how tower control is supposed to be played. Because you kind of go in with around tower, you get one, kind of have one kind of flank and go aggressive a little bit, and then just have someone just ride tower.
Let's take a look at these compositions that these teams are bringing out. So, a couple of adjustments. Rare gonna change up backlines entirely, bring out that tri-stringer. RNG bring out the Clash, which has sort of made a comeback here, especially in tower control lately. I did also see that Nova was running opening Gambit.
Yeah, but honestly, what interests me is that the Clash Blaster in Goomies is running pretty much 3 mains of QR, which I think says something. I don't think your goal should be dying, but if you're prepared for it, I guess you're prepared for it. As we see Goomies kind of already start progressing the tower, and they kind of got off tower a little bit too early to try to get past that first checkpoint, and they're kind of getting punished now by Redbeak.
Yeah, certainly. It seems like they're trying to cook up a comp here, but so far, it's been okay. I think they're definitely losing in the KA department right now, but Goomies has done an excellent job all night of playing that objective, and they're just continuing to do so as they do have the early lead here, which will be lost. Maybe. No, the tower's actually gonna reset as nobody from Redbeak was able to get back on. So Goomies continues to be in the lead in this game, despite consistently going down and losing players, in a staggered fashion. Yeah,
but now we see Redbeak barely get any points as we see a Splat Bomb clean the tower quite efficiently, and 2 go down Redbeak and forcing this ball point to kind of back up a little bit.
So yes, the lead will be in favor of Redbeak as this is a relatively low-scoring game of Inkblot tower control. Normally, by now we have at least one team that's working through that second checkpoint. But these two teams have just been doing a great job of just stalling this game out as much as possible. And there's the wipeout. RNG gonna jump on this tower now along with Rare. Rare gonna probably stick on this as RNG will most likely hop off here trying to work these ledges. Which is exactly what a Flash Blaster should be doing. And with this Trizuka in hand, gonna try to cause a little bit more chaos, but won't be able to get anything there. As once again, we will be seeing a wipeout, but this time in the favor of Redbeak Splatoon, who will now get the opportunity to finally break through this first checkpoint. Can we have a team break through the first checkpoint halfway through this game? Alas, we will get it.
Yeah, but again, I'm seeing a lot of specials getting popped from Redbeak. Two wave breakers, inkjet. I mean, you're pushing really hard, and you kind of just got exactly that second checkpoint. So you kind of lost your advantages now, and Redbeak now has to kind of back away or Slings is staying a little bit too aggressive and gets punished by the Tri-Slosher.
I think that actually ultimately is okay for Redbeak here to utilize those specials. I think they built up enough of a lead that they can kind of just, they ultimately do, lose a bit of control of the map here, a little bit of, their lives as well as they have to kind of come back into this. But they're doing a great job of just holding their plat, not letting Goomies even get back to that first checkpoint. So ultimately, I think those were all specials very well spent and continue to be, as they just have full control once again. So now this could be, Redbeak's opportunity to finally get one on the board, of course, post-match. But, one on the board nonetheless.
Yeah, and as we see kind of like these two teams kind of like duking it out in mid, just trading territory and splats as we eventually we see two down on side Goomies, and but as I see that, we keep seeing one for one trades coming from both sides.
But not for TLP here, as TLP is gonna get a clean flick of the flings and will get eventually shot down by Rare on the Tri-Stringer. So this just continues to be a chain of kills here. But it will be the Blaster that's able to start opening things up for their team and able to come from behind as well. But it's going to be a fight on the tower. Redbeak going to hold on here, possibly able to get the win. But no, RNG's going to put one last-ditch effort into this. Redbeak, though, coming out on top for their first game of the set.
Yeah, that was very well played. Just, they were able to keep, trading back and forth and making sure, who could have more paint on the ground to kind of have that little bit of an advantage state. Because, when you're constantly trading, you just need to know who kind of has more of a zone of control.
Yeah, certainly. Well, but, for Redbeak, though, this has got to feel kind of good. Obviously it's the score will go down in the record books as a 5-0 victory in favor of Goomies, but Redbeak finally managed to break through there. So at the very least, you're patting yourself on the back and was like, okay, at least we know we can beat them. Because even though it's post-match, we got one. Maybe if something had gone just slightly different, we could still be in this set. But we know that we are just, we can at least hang with them. We could actually make this competitive, and we're not going to get completely wiped through all 9 games.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I honestly expect, Redbeak to maybe hold a little bit stronger, games, because, I've kind of seen from Redbeak that they kind of, like, once they figure out their enemies, they kind of know how to work around that. So, I expect Goomies could be, watch out, even though it's after set's over. But, this is still scrim, so you can still so both teams are still learning something from each other.
Oh, certainly. We are approaching the end of the school year, so obviously things can start to change for these collegiate teams. I don't quite know the status for either of these teams, if they're going to be losing any members to graduation or if anything is going to be changing, but it's always good to have that extra practice, especially if most of your members are going to be coming back next school year, just to be able to continue to work at it, get yourself ready for next season. And I mean, hey, CCA, we're still planning to do some off-season things, so definitely good to just continue to refine all those skills.
Yeah, as we see Dynamo and E-Leader on the side of Redbeak, and we see a blob on the side of Goomies.
I think they're continuing to cook, as the kids say.
Yeah, I mean, these two comps can work. It's just they're lacking a little object damage, which is very interesting choice on a Rainmaker match.
And the Tri-Slosher infamously losing all of their ink. Oh, I feel you, Bubble. I've been there way too many times myself. And oh, the Blaster with a nice triple there.
Yeah, but now Redbeak kind of has to make the deciding factor of which checkpoint you're going to go after, because that's going to determine which side Goomies will rotate to. As they go for center, which, again, it's very hard to decide in the moment sometimes. So it's up. I don't really think it's. I think it's still a good play. I think so. And we see immediately just multiple points on the board, up to 27.
Oh.
And Goomies are just kind of staggered right now, and just need to find some way to just get rid of Rainmaker, as they somehow do at 1 point remaining.
Oh man, Redbeak has turned it up here in game number 7. I mean, what a series of events there. The Blaster with a beautiful triple, the E-Leader with that collateral shot, the Dynamo picking up that Rainmaker and rolling it into the pedestal to get to 1 point remaining. The only thing they were missing was the knockout. But what a push there by Redbeak in response to Goomies getting that first checkpoint early on.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said that once like Redbeak kind of figure out their enemies. I mean, I feel like they're going to have much stronger games. You know, really just turn up that heat. And we see Goomies also going for the insane push all the way to 5. I mean, it's not exactly knockout, but I mean, both teams are really just putting on the pressure.
This is a very high-scoring affair here at Hagglefish Market, as these teams are continuing to just scrap around this Rainmaker by the pedestal and Redbeak Splatoon's base, but it's the Blaster once again that's going to jump off the map, thinking that they picked up the Rainmaker.
Yeah, you know, that's a bit unfortunate, but you know, I think I should have been a little bit more coordinated. But it's something to see on the CCA stream, as we see both teams now kind of get back to mid, trying to exert some sort of mid control over Rainmaker, unable to get much of a push. But we could start seeing something as Dynamo goes down the side of Redbeak.
Redbeak continues to play here, able to get a couple of nice picks. Gonna try to shut down this Inkjun. Yes, they will. So now Goomies, though, has been so good about quickly getting themselves back to that objective. The T-Tech able to do so, bring out that triple ink strike, make it difficult for Redbeak to pick this one up, but they will anyways, despite the numbers disadvantage. RNG gonna try to come from behind here to shut this one down and to keep this Rainmaker on Redbeak's side of the map. Tri-Slosher gonna try, Blah Blah, that is actually gonna try to come in, and they will get the pick. So a little bit of unconventional, aggressive Blah Blobber here that'll ultimately get shut down by this Dynamo. But nonetheless, continuing to keep the pressure up. It's a very high-scoring game. It's going to be tough to try to get that Rainmaker back within scoring territory for Goomies. But if they continue to do what they're doing here, they might just find that opportunity.
Yeah, and with T-Tech in this pretty strong power position, they can kind of exert a lot of pressure and kind of flank from behind. But they trade out with Dynamo, and Rare is now kind of forced to back up because they don't have any teammates around them.
Yeah, 30 seconds to play. So now things are starting to just look a little bit trickier for Goomies to navigate. As Redbeak does have a couple of specials online to try to stop this Rainmaker in the closing seconds. 2v2 situation. Rainmaker's the last one standing. It's gonna just be the Blob that has to make a move here on their own, but somehow still staying alive. Finally gonna get shut down here, as Redbeak will pull out another game in this friendly play all 9.
Yeah, I mean, I think Redbeak finally was able to be like, okay, we're no longer sleepy because Goomies, you really let on the pressure. So I mean, they're now like learning and being able to really give Goomies a hard time. But again, I think they could have maybe like awoken a little bit faster before, because I think we would have seen like a very strong potential of not of these different scores.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if one little thing had gone different, we could have been in the middle of not a reverse sweep, because I feel like obviously they got these 2 games. I don't think they necessarily would have won game 5. I think their best opportunities were in game 1 and game 3 to possibly have a game, but we very realistically could still have a set right now if one thing had gone different in either of those individual games. But hey, Redbeak, they've at least found their momentum now, able to start leveraging that, and hey, 2 wins under your belt. At least they are gonna try to make this a 5-4 set. Just to have that confidence under your belt of, hey, at least we got that pretty close in the end.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can somehow, get 5-4, I mean, or even 5-3, I mean, I think it kind of shows that, these two teams could easily just, scrim, later down the line, kind of just be collegiate rivals for like, well, for however long they're going to be playing collegiate Splatoon, to be honest.
True. Anywhere between 1 more month and 3 more years.
As we go into Clanlet Scorch Gorge, what do you see about this, DRF? Any interesting comps?
Well, we do see the ZNF Charger coming out for the first time in this set. So a very interesting addition there for Redbeak, and I think a very welcome one at that. I do love the use of these splash walls here. I think it's going to allow this Charger to be a little bit more mobile and kind of set up in more positions as we see them just kind of playing with some more confidence. Like, you don't normally see the Charger playing in mid like this early in the game.
Yeah, but I'm kind of concerned right now because I think they could be playing a little bit too aggressive, but they get 2 down the side of Goomies, and I may have to take back my words that you may be playing a bit aggressive, but if no one can shut you down, no one can shut you down.
I mean, they're doing a great job, I think, maintaining the perfect distance right now, and just letting their teammates, do a lot of the dirty work, just supporting wherever possible. As Redbeak continues to stagger these members of Goomies, they just don't have any clamps to get a push started.
Yeah, and it's now we're just at the Goomies choke pillow, and they're kind of just like there's clams all over the place, but no one can really grab them. So it's kind of just a free-for-all, kind of just fighting in this mid area.
Certainly, they're just struggling to kind of maintain some control here. They just need clams. They continue to stagger these members. Finally, they have 10 clams to their name, but they need to pass these clams around to the right people as they're gonna lose the Tetris, who had, I think, 4 of their clams on them. So once again, Redbeak in a position to push, but not able to build up the clam economy in the right way here to get that basket open. So now they're gonna have to just hang back once again. This crab gonna try to hold this spot and maintain a little bit of map control here, but that's pretty tricky when you have an Octobrush right in your face, and the Octobrush is gonna help find a nice double there, and Goomies might actually be the first ones to get a crack at the basket here.
Yeah, but Goomies is also having the same issue as Redbeak, as their clam economy was barely enough to get a basket open, but they do not have any more to their name.
So this will be a one and done push for Goomies. Very similar to what we saw in game number 3, I believe it was. No, game 4, Museum Clamlets. So where both of these teams just really struggle to get to that basket with the right amount of clams, and this is just going to be a very low-scoring game where both teams just chip away at their score here. But Redbeak doing a fantastic job now of just trying to keep this pressure up, able to pick off a couple of members there. This crab somehow just staying alive, but they're going to ultimately have to back up here. It's going to be a 1+5 for Redbeak, so that's enough for them to get the lead. It's not going to take much, though, for Goomies to get back this lead. It's only going to be 1+2. That's all they need.
Yeah, and especially now they have 10 clams plus their pity clam right at basket. So if they can somehow get a very strong push against Redbeak, I mean, you can easily get enough clams to start to get a lead. And we see this Tri-Slosher kind of come up on top of the ZNF and open up the way for Goomies to start scoring.
Yes, and they have quite a few clams to work with, able to pilot a whole bunch here, plus another power clam from courtesy of Rare jumping in there. And on top of that, Rare I think got the double too. So this basket will actually stay open just because Redbeak did not have the personnel there to force Goomies back. So 29 remaining, a big push there by Goomies, and that very well could be a game-winning push as they continue to stay right on this ramp here, and they're gonna make it super difficult for Redbeak to just get out of their spawn at this point with 30 seconds to play. That's detrimental if you're Redbeak.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Redbeak needs power clams to their names, first of all, because, I mean, you have pity, but you just don't have enough clams to have anything to quite sustain. And Redbeak kind of, I think, preemptively grabbed this pity clam, which I don't think that was quite the right call, but they're kind of going in for this kind of desperation push at this point.
Almost desperation indeed, as now they're going to try to move up onto this center mid, but no, they're not going to be able to do so. Halfway through overtime, it's a 2v2, as there's going to be one move by the clam holder here. The Tetra's going to try to slide in, but no, it's not enough time, as Goomies will win game number 8.
Yeah, again, that was a very interesting play of just the two teams not exactly having enough clan economy most of the time, except for that one single strong push from Goomies, able to get 2 power clams plus some more that was able to help them get the lead.
Well, a great job there by Goomies. Once again, kind of finding their stride with the aggression that we saw during the main portion of that set. They once again found it here. You know, took a little bit of back and forth, very similar to that Museum Clams game. But now they were just able to really throw themselves at the objective here like we were used to, and really opened up that lead in the second half. But now, I think this is a very fitting grand finale. Here's Flat Zone's Wahoo, Game 9. We have not yet seen this map mode combo this season, primarily due to a minor glitch in the game. It stayed out of our map pool, and now we said, you know what, throw it into Game 9. Let's see what happens.
I mean,
So,
I think he just wants to Wahoo pole. I mean, that's what I think that's what Wahoo at this point is known for. It's not known for the carousel or any of the, the timer or the bridge. It's literally just the big giant hole that does nothing for the zone right now because the bridge just blocks bombs at this point.
all roads lead to Wahoo Pole. Here in the bronze medal match, although this one has been decided already, but I think there could not be a more fitting end than Wahoo Pole.
Yeah, I'm curious what these two teams are going to be cooking up because these two teams I feel like they're thinking quite a lot. So I honestly just from my thinking of the exact map. I feel like we're going to get a meme weapon just match where you're supposed to be like, we could see whatever. We could see like Pencil and Big Swig for all I know.
Well, they used up the entire timer and like 2 people were checked up. So that could either mean something very good or very bad. So let's see what these teams bring out for us. And of course, we gotta end this one with some fun shenanigans here. It looks like Redbeak is gonna come out with the quad charger with some of the most forbidden chargers in this game, where Goomies will be coming out here with a couple of slightly forbidden weapons themselves.
Yeah, as we see, both sides have their Swifties just, trade each other, which is interesting. And Ken is actually playing this interestingly, as it was a little bit too aggressive, but honestly used its 10 very well to get their initial pick.
Oh man, this is gonna be the world's slowest Wahoo Zones game, as we are 40 seconds into this one and nobody has capped the zone.
Yeah, I mean, you're expecting a bunch of chargers to kind of paint zone, and then on the side of Goomies, you're expecting a Luna on 10 to paint zone. You don't really got much paint, so
Oh,
you're
here
working
we
with
go.
what you got. Let's go.
Finally, a minute into the game, somebody capped the zone. We were just on zone trail cam there, trying to see if something would happen.
Yeah, and I mean, now, Redbeak kind of has to hit all their shots in order to kind of make a push because, there are a bunch of chargers, so if you don't hit your shots, you aren't really playing your role as a charge, I feel like, especially when you got nothing to support you except for another charger.
Oh, man. Yeah, and they got capped in the zone, and they're going to recap it here, maintaining some control. Somehow going to try to lead this off into possibly really tightening the gap, actually, on this lead right now, as this Luna Blaster not really going to be able to do anything in terms of paying the zone. So now Redbeak, with these quad chargers, are actually going to look for the lead here.
Yeah, as we once again see both Squiffers just trade each other, and it's just going to be it's a fight in zone. Just it's literally just down to who's the last person standing will determine pretty much who will be able to play zone at this point.
It really is. You paint the zone with the blood of your enemies.
Yeah, I mean, it really shows. I mean, it's with Bubble just kind of coming in here trying to close the distance, but again, some of these short-range options are kind of having a little bit of a difficult time trying to close this distance because you're dealing with a bunch of chargers. As we see, Ken playing very aggressive, and immediately lost her 10 shield, which is quite the best when you're a 10.
Yeah, you kind of need that. That's really half of the weapon there. So, they capped Redbeak capitalizes that on that very well, pushing them back, and now they are in full control here, able to take the lead. A lot of yellow in mid, and now they're just trying to hold off Goomies as they just inch their way forward behind that tent umbrella shield, and now find themselves in the zone. But with the negative paint that both of these teams have, it's going to take quite some effort to flip the zone. Able to finally do it here, a minute and a half to play. Goomies back in control.
Yeah, and Goomies is now, I think, playing a little bit more of an aggressive gameplay of just trying to stay in the enemy court and just exert some sort of pressure so that Redbeak doesn't have some ability to paint zone. Like we see a Bubble here just going all out on the Luna Blaster right now.
But the Luna comes up with a nice double there, and with the Squiffer gonna get the camp shot there. This will be Goomies retaking the lead. Redbeak with one opportunity to try to get back in the zone, trying to come from this right side here. RNG doing a great job of contesting it. It's gonna come down to this Goo Tuber, and they do have 3 down, but nobody in the zone, as Goomies will win this final game.
Yeah, it was a wild match to see, especially since, both teams just had a really hard time just trying to cap the zone because they just can't paint really all that well.
That was one of the most excitingly painful matches of Wahoo Zones that I have ever seen.
Yeah, but we love to see this on CCA. I mean, it's we are all serious and all, but I think it's always good to not be always serious and have a good laugh, because that kind of helps everyone's mental at this point.
It certainly does, especially because these sets are so long, and you choose to play all night as well, when you don't necessarily need to. So when you get to that last one, let's just have fun with it. This is the end of the road for both of these teams. End of their season until next school year. Well, it's going to be Goomies that do finish on top here. 5-0 victory, and will be your Division 5 bronze medalists. Wow.
Yeah.
What a set that we had here today, Elixir.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I honestly think that, we could definitely see these two teams definitely make quite the impact next semester, as, we saw that, Goomies knows how to sweep, and, Redbeak is pretty good because, I mean, they gave Goomies a fight for their life after the set ended. So, if these two teams kind of keep at it with each other as like kind of collegiate rivals, we could just, we could see, them being like Division 1 eventually, That's I think that's everyone's kind of goal, is just to be Division 1 in CCA.
True. Because Division 1, I mean, that is kind of just the Premier League, in a sense, where the best of the best are fighting. So, it takes a couple of seasons. You got to work your way up there. I mean, you're familiar with that grind yourself, Elixir, and I think that's just the goal for everybody. Especially because the prizing does take a step up in Division 1. Although this season, MSI has hooked us up with fantastic prizing for our Division 1, 2, and 3 winners, all getting monitors courtesy of MSI. Division 4 will be playing for Switch carrying cases, which are also pretty neat. So huge shout out to MSI for having our backs this season. We greatly appreciate your ongoing support.
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, MSI, I mean, it's always good to see, CCA get supported, and, having a well-established company such as MSI be willing to support, collegiate Splatoon, because, a lot of other, schools and companies kind of disregard, collegiate Splatoon, as it's not collegiate enough, essentially. So that's always good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ongoing struggle for us, and it's not anyone's fault or anything. It's just the Splatoon scene as a whole. We're continuing to really work as a community to establish ourselves as an esport, and we hope that we are able to, just give us a little bit more of an opportunity here at the CCA. So it's always great to see. So before we wrap this one up, though, as I'm kind of just scrolling through some stats right now, and I do actually want to point this one out because I do find it very interesting. In the regular season, actually, Goomies' individual game record was actually 16-15 going into this set. And their average point differential was -16. So on average, Goomies were losing games by 16 points, showed up here, and then swept.
I mean, that just shows, how much effort, Goomies really put in. But I'm curious, I mean, if you're going to do, like, comparing those kind of stats, so what was the point record that Redbeak came into with
Yeah,
this,
Redbeak came into this one with an individual game record of 18-12 with 8 KOs. That is third in Division 5. And an average point differential of 18.8. So they were on average winning games by 18 points, or 19 points, really.
Oh, wow. So, that's quite the upset for Redbeak then, actually, with those kind of stats.
Yeah, I mean, Goomies just went all out here. I believe Goomies might have also be leading the league now in games played. Of course, that might change this weekend as we get more games in, more stats in. But I believe currently with those 5 games, that puts them up to 36 and as league leaders. So Goomies has really run a marathon so far, but certainly, might not be a standing record as we still have a lot of Grand Finals matches coming up. So before we wrap this one up, I do want to plug that real quick. Grand Finals weekend is upon us. We will be streaming all weekend long, trying to cover every single division Grand Finals starting tomorrow with our Division 6 Grand Finals. That will be taking place at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific between West Virginia and Wetcod Empire. And after that, in the evening, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we will be having the Division 1 Playoff Marathon, where we will be streaming both semifinal matches and Division 1 Grand Finals. You do not want to miss that. We will be pulling out all the stops for that one, getting to chat with the teams, dropping into VCs, all the like. So certainly tune in tomorrow for that one. Elixir, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to work with you, DRF. I mean, it's always interesting to kind of hear, the different commentary and, get everyone's perspectives on things. Anyways,
Sure.
I feel like it's about time to plug ourselves.
Yes.
What do you say, DRF?
Yes, go ahead, Elixir. Where can people over chat find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Elixir68 for some, occasional comments and replies to Splatoon hot takes, and you can also find me on my team Kraken Squids as I try to continue my best to try to lead them into better gameplay. How about you, DRF?
Well, for me, you can find me on Twitter at DRF_Splatoon and on Twitch at TritonDRF. But as always, you can find me more often right here on the CCA Twitch channel. That is going to do it for us here today. Congratulations, Goomies, our bronze medalist in Division 5. We will see you all tomorrow for the first of our Grand Finals matches. We will see you then.